December 16, 1944. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. American machine gunner Private First Class William Henderson peers through the frozen mist, watching shadows move between the snow-covered pines. Behind him, 80,000 unsuspecting Allied troops sleep in their foxholes, convinced the Germans are finished. They are catastrophically wrong. At 5:30 a.m., the world explodes. Over 200,000 German troops surge through the forest in Hitler's last desperate gamble, Operation Watch on the Rhine. Artillery shells scream overhead. Panzers rumble through the darkness. In 72 hours, 19,000 American soldiers will be dead. The intelligence failure is total. Or is it? 3 weeks earlier, in a makeshift interrogation room 50 miles from the front, a 22-year-old Jewish refugee named Guy Stern sits across from a captured Wehrmacht officer. Stern fled Nazi Germany in 1937 with nothing but a suitcase and broken English. He has no military background, no intelligence training beyond 8 weeks at a secret camp in Maryland. The German officer smirks at his accent. "You are no American," the prisoner says in German. Stern leans forward and responds in perfect Berliner dialect. "Tell me about the buildup in the Ardennes." The officer's face goes white. In the following interrogations, Stern and his team extract detailed warnings about troop movements, material resources, and a massive German offensive. They document everything. They send urgent bulletins to headquarters. They beg commanders to prepare defenses. The reports are ignored. Generals at the highest level dismiss the intelligence as impossible. Germany is beaten, they insist. Their air superiority is absolute. The enemy cannot mount such an attack. One officer literally files the reports in a desk drawer marked unactionable. What these generals don't know is that over 60% of all actionable intelligence gathered on the Western Front comes from soldiers exactly like Guy Stern, refugees, immigrants, intellectuals who speak the enemy's language. Most are Jews who escaped the death camps. Many have no formal education in military matters. All of them are wildly underestimated. They call themselves the Ritchie Boys. And what American commanders don't understand in December 1944 will cost thousands of lives, and prove that the most dangerous weapon in modern warfare isn't a bomb or a bullet. It's information. To understand how America found itself blind in the Ardennes, we need to rewind to 1941. When the United States enters World War II, its military intelligence apparatus is, to put it generously, primitive. The Army has no dedicated interrogation training, no systematic approach to prisoner questioning, no cultural experts who understand the German mind. Officers simply grab whatever German-speaking soldier they can find and throw him in front of captured POWs, hoping for useful information. The results are catastrophic. In North Africa, British intelligence officers watch in horror as American interrogators bungle prisoner interviews, letting critical tactical information slip away because they don't know which questions to ask. At Kasserine Pass in February 1943, German forces obliterate American units partly because U.S. commanders have no advance warning of enemy positions, information that captured prisoners possessed but were never properly questioned about. The consensus among Allied leadership is clear. America is losing the intelligence war. Traditional military brass propose traditional solutions. Promote officers with combat experience to interrogation roles. Send men to crash courses in German language. Assign battlefield interpreters from the regular army. All of these approaches fail spectacularly. Combat veterans don't understand intelligence gathering. Language students can't master German dialects in weeks. Regular army interpreters lack the cultural fluency to break resistant prisoners. The stakes couldn't be higher. By 1942, Germany controls most of Europe. Their military operates with terrifying precision, coordinated movements, encrypted communications, fanatical loyalty. Breaking that machine requires understanding it from the inside. Understanding not just the language, but the psychology. The regional accents that reveal which Wehrmacht division a soldier belongs to. The cultural references that build rapport. The emotional pressure points that make hardened SS officers talk. The U.S. Army needs something radical, something unprecedented. They need soldiers who are German, but who hate Germany. The answer is hiding in plain sight. Throughout 1938 and 1939, over 100,000 Jewish refugees fled Nazi persecution and arrived in America. They speak flawless German. They understand Prussian military culture. They know how the Nazi propaganda machine works because they survived it. They have every motivation to defeat Hitler. They are, in military intelligence terms, the perfect weapon. But there's one massive problem. The US military doesn't trust them. In 1942, suspicion of refugees runs deep in the War Department. Many generals consider them security risks, potential enemy agents, or, at best, unreliable foreigners who might crack under pressure. Some weren't even allowed to enlist initially because they weren't born in America. The idea of putting them on the front lines, giving them access to classified intelligence, and sending them behind enemy lines seems insane. These people are enemy aliens, one War Department memo argues. They cannot be trusted with sensitive operations. The orthodox military view is clear. Intelligence work requires native-born Americans with security clearances and extensive vetting. Real Americans, not refugees who arrived 3 years ago and still struggle with baseball terminology. Meanwhile, the war is going badly. In the Atlantic, U-boats sink American ships faster than they can be built. In the Pacific, Japanese forces advance island by island. In Europe, the Africa Corps demonstrates what happens when one side has superior intelligence and the other doesn't. By mid-1942, the U.S. casualty rate is climbing. Battle after battle, American forces walk into ambushes they should have anticipated, fight enemies whose strength they wildly miscalculated, advance into minefields that captured prisoners could have revealed. The intelligence failure is killing American boys at an industrial pace. Something has to change. What no one in the War Department understands yet is that the solution doesn't require better technology, more funding, or traditional military expertise. It requires thinking like the enemy. Enter Colonel Charles Y. Banfield. In June 1942, Banfield takes command of a remote facility in the mountains of western Maryland, Camp Ritchie. It's a former National Guard training ground, 638 acres of forest and hills where summer temperatures drop to near freezing at night. The terrain resembles Germany. The isolation is perfect for classified work. Banfield is not your typical Army colonel. While most senior officers in 1942 spent their careers in traditional infantry and artillery roles, Banfield is an intelligence specialist, a rare breed in an army that has historically viewed intelligence work as secondary to battlefield heroics. He holds no advanced degrees in languages or psychology. He has no experience running interrogation programs. On paper, he is the last person who should be revolutionizing military intelligence. But Banfield has something more valuable than credentials. He has been watching the intelligence failures, and he's furious. His job is supposedly straightforward: train soldiers in order of battle, analysis, photo interpretation, and basic interrogation techniques. Standard military doctrine. Safe, orthodox methods that have been failing spectacularly for 18 months. Banfield's moment of insight comes during a demonstration in late June 1942. An instructor is teaching American-born soldiers how to interrogate German prisoners. The instructor reads from a manual. Ask the prisoner his name, rank, and unit. Be firm but fair. One soldier raises his hand. Sir, what if he won't talk? The instructor pauses. Then you try harder? Banfield watches this exchange and realizes the entire approach is backwards. American soldiers are trying to interrogate Germans while knowing nothing about German culture, psychology, or even basic regional dialects. They're asking surface questions when they need to be asking about specific Wehrmacht divisions, supply routes, and defensive positions. They're treating interrogation like a police interview instead of psychological warfare. That night, Banfield drafts a radical proposal. What if Camp Ritchie recruited the refugees, the German and Austrian Jews who fled Hitler? What if, instead of treating them as security risks, the army weaponized their cultural knowledge? These men don't need to learn German. They are German. They don't need training in Nazi propaganda. They grew up surrounded by it. Banfield takes his proposal to the War Department. The response is immediate and hostile. You want to send enemy aliens to the front lines? One general demands. That's a security nightmare. They're not enemy aliens, Banfield counters. They're Jewish refugees who hate the Nazis. They have foreign accents. They'll be spotted immediately. Exactly, Banfield says. They'll be spotted as Germans. That's the point. The room erupts. Officers shout over each other. Someone pounds the table. The idea is crazy. Dangerous. A court-martial waiting to happen. But Banful has one crucial advantage. The intelligence failures are becoming impossible to ignore. Casualty rates are rising. Battlefield commanders are screaming for better information. Traditional approaches have failed. Finally, one general leans back in his chair. You really think these refugees can turn the tide? I think, Banful says quietly. They're the only ones who can. In July 1942, the first class of refugees arrives at Camp Ritchie. The Ritchie Boys experiment begins. The first recruits are a motley group that would never pass traditional military screening. There's Gunther Stern, who now goes by Guy, a 20-year-old former clothing merchant's son from Hildesheim who fled Germany in 1937. He has no college degree, no military background, and until 18 months ago was working odd jobs in Kansas while trying to get his family out of Europe. Werner Angress, 22, is a Jewish refugee from Berlin who escaped just before Kristallnacht. Martin Selling survived Dachau concentration camp and carries the psychological scars. Most are in their early 20s. Some are intellectuals, students of literature or languages. Others worked in shops or factories. What they share is fluency in German, intimate knowledge of Nazi culture, and burning motivation. Camp Ritchie's training program is unlike anything in the U.S. military. For 8 weeks, recruits study an intensive curriculum. 272 hours of general instruction covering order of battle, terrain intelligence, signal intelligence, counterintelligence, and psychological warfare. They memorize the organizational structure of every German military unit, which divisions fought where, which generals commanded which armies, which regiments suffered heavy casualties. They study German uniforms down to the button designs, because a single insignia can reveal whether a prisoner is regular Wehrmacht or fanatical SS. But the real training is an interrogation. Unlike traditional prisoner interviews, the Ritchie Boys learn to conduct what Banful calls psychological operations. They practice building rapport with prisoners by discussing German literature, regional foods, hometown geography. They learn to exploit homesickness, war weariness, and resentment of officers. They discover that offering a cigarette and speaking in a familiar dialect can accomplish more than threats. The training is brutal. Recruits conduct night patrols in sub-zero temperatures to simulate battlefield conditions. They practice garroting sentries from behind, a skill that makes the former shopkeepers and students vomit the first time. They complete 8-day terrain exercises solving 20 intelligence problems under combat stress. The physical component terrifies them, but the psychological component is worse. Instructors stage mock interrogations where recruits play both prisoner and interrogator. Guy Stern sits across from a fellow Jewish refugee who's pretending to be an SS officer. The role-play forces him to confront the soldiers who murdered his neighbors, the officers who signed deportation orders, the system that scattered his family. How do I not kill him? Stern asks an instructor after one session. You get him to talk first, the instructor replies. Then he kills himself. When the War Department sends observers to assess the program, they watch in disbelief. These recruits don't look like soldiers. They're too thin, too intellectual, too foreign. During one demonstration, a refugee interrogates a mock prisoner entirely in Bavarian dialect, extracting detailed intelligence that reveals fictional minefield locations and artillery positions. That's actually working, one observer admits. Yes, Banful replies. And it's the most illegal thing the army is doing. What do you mean? Under the Geneva Conventions, these men are supposed to be prisoners. We're turning them into weapons. The observer pauses. Does the War Department know? They will, Banful says, when we win the war. By October 1943, Camp Ritchie has trained over 1,000 men. The program is running smoothly. Graduation rates are high. The refugees-turned-soldiers are ready for deployment. Then the War Department tries to shut it down. A classified memo arrives at Camp Ritchie in November 1943. Traditional military intelligence officers, watching the program's expansion, have complained to senior leadership. Their argument is simple. The Ritchie Boys are a liability. They're security risks who might defect. They're physically unfit for frontline combat. Worst of all, they're violating the fundamental principle of military intelligence, that interrogators should be detached, objective, native-born Americans without personal stakes in the outcome. These refugees have too much hatred, one memo argues. They cannot be trusted to interrogate professionally. Banfield responds with data. In the North African campaign, Ritchie Boy graduates have already begun producing intelligence results. They've identified Wehrmacht divisions, mapped defensive positions, and extracted tactical information that regular army interrogators missed. But the War Department wants more proof, specifically, evidence that the program works under direct combat conditions. The confrontation comes to a head in a December 1943 meeting at the War Department. Banfield presents his case to a room full of skeptical generals. He brings photographs of graduates, statistics on training completion rates, and field reports from North Africa. The opposition is led by a brigadier general who commands the traditional military intelligence division. Colonel Banfield, the general begins. Your program is fundamentally flawed. You're training enemy nationals. Jewish refugees, Banfield interrupts, who speak with German accents, who will be identified instantly by enemy forces and who will crack under pressure. Or worse, defect. They fled the Nazis. Why would they defect to them? Coercion. Blackmail. Their families are still in Europe. The room murmurs in agreement. The general continues. Furthermore, your interrogation methods are unorthodox and potentially illegal. You're training these men to pose as German officers, to use psychological manipulation, to conduct what amounts to espionage in violation of. They're gathering intelligence, Banfield says sharply. That's their job. Their job is to follow protocol. Your methods are dangerous and the room erupts. Officers argue across the table. Someone demands that the Ritchie program be immediately suspended. Another suggests reassigning the refugees to support roles, translators or clerks, far from the battlefield. A third proposes disbanding the unit entirely and redistributing the soldiers to regular army interrogation teams, where they can be properly supervised. Banfield lets them argue. Then he pulls out a classified report. General Koch, he says, addressing a 3-star general at the head of the table, you're aware that intelligence reports from the Ritchie graduates in North Africa have been exceptionally accurate. I've seen the reports, Koch admits carefully. And you're aware that traditional interrogation methods have consistently failed to produce equivalent intelligence. The sample size is too small. The sample size is battle after battle where we walk into ambushes because we don't know what the enemy is planning. Banfield's voice rises. We lose boys because our intelligence is garbage. These refugees, these Ritchie boys, are producing intelligence that saves lives, and you want to shut them down because they don't fit your notion of what a soldier should look like. Silence. The general opposing the program leans forward. Colonel, you're asking us to bet American lives on immigrants we barely know. No, Banfield replies. I'm asking you to use the best weapon we have. The debate rages for another hour. Finally, General Oscar Koch, who would later serve as General Patton's G2 intelligence chief, speaks. Gentlemen, we are losing the intelligence war. The Germans have better signals intelligence, better tactical awareness, and better interrogation protocols than we do. If Colonel Banfield's program can change that, I'm willing to take the risk. He turns to Banfield. You'll get your battlefield test. But if even one of your Ritchie boys defects or compromises operations, this program ends. Banfield nods. Understood, sir. The meeting concludes. The Ritchie boys program survives. Within 6 months, they will prove that refugee soldiers can do more than anyone imagined. If you're enjoying this story of the most unlikely heroes of World War II, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting to the incredible battlefield results that changed everything. Don't miss what happens next. June 6, 1944. D-Day. Werner Angres, the 23-year-old Jewish refugee from Berlin, boards a C-47 transport aircraft with the 101st Airborne Division. It's his first parachute jump. He lands somewhere in occupied France in total darkness, loses contact with his unit, and spends 3 hours crawling through hedgerows trying to find friendly forces. When American sentries finally challenge him, they hear his German accent and nearly shoot him. What's the Windy City? They demand. Angres has no idea. He fled Germany in 1938 and never learned American sports trivia. The sentries raise their rifles. Wait. Angres shouts. I'm with the Ritchie boys. Camp Ritchie, Maryland. I'm American intelligence. They take him to the commanding officer, who confirms his identity and sends him to work. 3 days later, Angres is sitting in a barbed wire enclosure in the sand, what the Ritchie Boys call the cage, interrogating captured Wehrmacht soldiers. This is where the program proves itself. The interrogations produce immediate, actionable intelligence. Angres and his team identify which German divisions are defending which sectors of the Normandy coast. They map machine gun nests, artillery positions, and minefield locations. They extract information about defensive fortifications, supply routes, and troop morale. The intelligence is so detailed that American howitzers achieve deadly accuracy, destroying German positions with minimal wasted ammunition. One captured German officer is particularly resistant. He's SS, arrogant, refuses to answer questions. Then a Ritchie boy named Martin Selling sits down across from him. The German officer sizes him up. "You're no American." Selling responds in perfect German. "You're right. I'm from Berlin, and I learned everything I know about interrogation when I was an inmate at Dachau. I'm Jewish." The officer's face goes pale. He begins talking. By August 1944, the results are undeniable. Ritchie Boys are embedded with every major American unit advancing through France. They interrogate tens of thousands of prisoners and civilians. They produce intelligence reports that reach General Patton's headquarters within hours of battlefield captures. The data is staggering. Ritchie Boy interrogations provide over 60% of all actionable intelligence gathered on the Western Front. 60%. General Oscar Koch, Patton's intelligence chief, reviews the reports in disbelief. Regular Army interrogators are producing generic information, names, ranks, units. The Ritchie Boys are producing tactical gold, specific defensive positions, ammunition shortages, officer conflicts, strategic plans. "Where are you getting this?" Koch asks Guy Stern after one particularly detailed report. "We know what questions to ask," Stern replies simply. "And we know when they're lying." The battlefield impact is immediate. American forces advance faster because they know where the enemy isn't. They avoid ambushes because interrogations reveal German positions. They exploit weaknesses because the Ritchie Boys identify which units are demoralized, undersupplied, or commanded by incompetent officers. But it's not just tactical intelligence. The Ritchie Boys engage in psychological warfare operations, using loudspeakers to broadcast messages in perfect German, convincing enemy soldiers to surrender. They write propaganda leaflets that exploit homesickness and war weariness. They turn the tables, using German cultural knowledge against the Wehrmacht itself. German prisoners are stunned. One captured soldier, interrogated by a Ritchie boy, asks in bewilderment, "How do you know about my regiment? How do you know my commander's name? How do you speak like you're from Hamburg?" "Because I am from Hamburg," the interrogator replies. "And now you're going to tell me about the Panzer divisions regrouping east of here." The prisoner talks. Then comes December 1944 and the Battle of the Bulge. As we saw in the opening, Ritchie Boys on the ground detect the German buildup weeks in advance. Lieutenant Leroy Vogel, a Ritchie boy with Mobile Field Interrogation Unit No. 1, sends detailed intelligence bulletins throughout November and early December. The reports document massive German troop movements, material stockpiling, and radio silence protocols that suggest an imminent offensive. The intelligence is perfect. The warnings are ignored. When the German offensive explodes on December 16th, initial casualties are catastrophic. Over 19,000 American soldiers die in the first days. But as the battle develops, Ritchie Boys embedded with frontline units begin producing critical intelligence that helps halt the German advance. They interrogate captured soldiers and pinpoint which Wehrmacht divisions are attacking where. They identify supply shortages that reveal German weaknesses. They map offensive routes that allow American forces to set up defensive positions. The battle is still brutal, but the intelligence flow prevents total disaster. Then tragedy strikes. Murray Zappler and Kurt Jacobs, two Jewish Ritchie boys, are captured along with 300 other American soldiers. German forces march them toward a POW camp. But an SS officer recognizes Zappler and Jacobs. They had interrogated some of these same German soldiers weeks earlier. The SS officer, Kurt Bruns, orders them separated from the other Americans. He states, "The Jews have no right to live in Germany." Zappler and Jacobs are walked into a field, turned around, and shot in the back of the head. Bruns is captured on February 15th, 1945, and put on trial for their murders. He's executed by firing squad on June 15, 1945, the First World War II criminal executed by the U.S. Army. By war's end, the Ritchie Boys have participated in every major battle in the European theater. They interrogate prisoners at concentration camps, uncovering evidence used in the Nuremberg trials. They serve as prosecutors and translators, ensuring that Nazi war criminals face justice. The final statistics are extraordinary. 15,200 soldiers trained at Camp Ritchie. Over 60% of actionable intelligence in Europe came from their interrogations. Thousands of American lives saved because commanders knew enemy positions, strength, and intentions. The Ritchie Boys changed how America fights wars. If you want to see more stories about unconventional heroes who rewrote history, smash that like button and check out our other documentaries. You won't believe what's coming next. May 8, 1945. Germany surrenders. Guy Stern stands in the ruins of Berlin, the city he fled as a 15-year-old refugee. He has just learned that his entire family, his parents, his 2 siblings, perished in concentration camps. They never made it out of Europe. He survived. They didn't. A fellow soldier asks him how he's doing. "I came home," Stern says quietly, "but my home is gone." Yet Stern refuses to let bitterness define him. After the war, he uses the GI Bill to attend Columbia University, earning degrees in German and comparative literature. He becomes a professor, first at Columbia, then Wayne State University in Detroit, dedicating his life to studying the culture that tried to destroy him. He becomes a distinguished scholar, a Holocaust educator, a living testament to the power of resilience. He never seeks fame. Neither do most Ritchie Boys. For decades, their contributions remain classified. The program itself stays secret. When Cold War tensions rise in the 1950s, the U.S. military doesn't want attention drawn to the fact that Jewish refugees conducted some of America's most effective intelligence operations. The Ritchie Boys returned to civilian life as teachers, businessmen, scholars, ordinary Americans who did extraordinary things. But their impact endures. The interrogation techniques pioneered at Camp Ritchie become the foundation for modern U.S. military intelligence training. The psychological warfare methods, understanding enemy culture, exploiting psychological vulnerabilities, building rapport instead of using coercion, are still taught today. The CIA and military intelligence communities study the Ritchie Boys as a case study in asymmetric advantage, how cultural knowledge can be more powerful than technology. Modern Special Forces interrogators learn the same lesson the Ritchie Boys proved in 1944. Speaking the enemy's language isn't enough. You must think like the enemy. Production numbers tell part of the story. 15,200 soldiers trained, 11,637 graduated. Over 60% of actionable intelligence in the European theater. Thousands of American and Allied lives saved. But the real numbers are harder to quantify. How many ambushes avoided? How many battles won with intelligence instead of firepower? How many soldiers came home because a Ritchie Boy extracted the location of a minefield? In 2021, Congress passes legislation to award the Ritchie Boys the Congressional Gold Medal, Congress's highest expression of national appreciation. By then, most are gone. Guy Stern receives the honor at age 101, 2 years before his death in December 2023. At the ceremony, a veteran approaches Stern. The man is in his 90s, stooped and slow. "You were at Normandy?" the veteran asks. "Yes," Stern replies. "You interrogated prisoners?" "Got intelligence. That was my job." The veteran grips Stern's hand. Tears stream down his face. "Then you saved my unit. We knew where the Germans were because of you. Because of you, we came home." Guy Stern, the refugee who arrived in America with nothing, who was told he couldn't be trusted, who proved that the most powerful weapon isn't hatred, it's understanding, simply nods. "We were just doing our duty," he says. The humble hero, the impossible mission, the world saved by those the world underestimated. That is the legacy of the Ritchie Boys.